Greetings from the city of brotherly love. I am Fernando Mendez, host of the Roundtable. We invite you to listen to our discussion of the themes of the day when we bring you regional, national, and international news. Con su programa La Mesa Redonda de Roundtable, desde el corazón de la ciudad del amor fraternal, les habla Fernando Mendez, en compañía de Britt Carpenter. Britt, bienvenido.
Fernando.
Este programa lo dirige Dan Ramos and Dylan Di Rosato. Bueno, I was telling Britt before the opening that I didn't plan much of in terms of topics, because all I have to say is, here is Britt Carpenter, and he will not stop for the next hour. So,
that's pretty accurate. So yeah, very accurate.
Well, you used to have a show with us.
I did.
I don't know if you want to come back.
I enjoyed it. It was great. It was.
I don't know if you want to do it again. So
it was a good time. Having a show was great. I mean, I probably would have still went on, but COVID sort of threw a wrench into a lot of people's lives.
And COVID changed the lives of a lot of people, and that is in the ballpark of some of your favorite topics. Drug addiction is one of them, so we'll talk about that. The other one, you care a lot for animals that are stranded and so on, so you were telling me about a dog.
Oh yeah, well I just saw it on social media last evening. There was Philly Rescue Angels, which is a rescue group in Philadelphia, posted that there was a dog that was found on one of SEPTA's tracks that somebody had abandoned it. There was a leash, there was a collar. The dog was in the middle of the tracks 2 days, and every time the train would come by, it would just lay down so the train would go over it. They finally got the dog off the tracks, and the dog is in rescue now, but somebody just discarded this animal. Wow. And this animal's terrified. It's just, it's awful. It's awful.
What is the condition of the dog now?
The dog's doing okay, gaining some trust, it says, but there wasn't much. I was just reading up on it, and of course, because I love animals and I work with animals, it broke my heart right away.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So how is that going right now in terms of animals? How many dogs and cats do you have now?
Myself personally, I'm down to 2 dogs. During COVID, my 2 older dogs I had to say goodbye to because they were 16 and 15. And then I rescued another senior, and I just had to say goodbye to him because he had cancer. So I just rescued another senior to go with my other dude. So I have 2 dogs, and I've got 4 cats.
4 cats?
Yeah, and if anybody wants any of them, please let me know, because I'm...
So how would people contact you to that?
I'll just call you, and then we'll just connect. It's cool. Yeah, no, but as far as it goes, all my animals are pretty cool, except for the one cat. I could take her, leave her. Okay. I open the door, she doesn't go. She just stays. She looks at me like I'm not going anywhere. So, but no, they're doing good.
It's nice and cozy inside. What else do you leave? Okay, I would like to talk about the drug epidemic and what's going on, because that whole Kensington area, that seems to have no solution. It seems that the authorities have given up on that area. I don't know. You know more about this.
It's funny you say about the authorities giving up. I'm not really sure they even started. They came in a few years ago, and I was just talking about this because, my nonprofit is ingrained. We're right at Dean, Indiana. We have our base of operations there. We're on boots on the ground. We're on the streets. We're working with the residents. We're working with those unsheltered. And I was just talking about the other day, and a few years ago, Dr. Oz, the gentleman from New Jersey who was trying to run in Pennsylvania recently, sorry, Dr. Oz. I'm glad you went back to Jersey. But anyway, when he came through the Gurney Street tracks and told everybody this is hell on earth, it has to be done, that people have to leave, and the city and Conrail came in and nobody wanted to know what to do, and they all pointed fingers and blamed. They cleared the tracks, which was great, but they forgot that they had nowhere to go. So 4 years ago when this happened, they had no plan then. 4 years later, we are now going back to where we were. We did an entire circle back to where we were because the encampments are forming under the the Kensington and Lehigh overpass, the Emerald and Lehigh underpass where they've been at. So these encampments are forming again. Outside the Gurney Street tracks, up a little bit going towards Fairhill and 2nd, they're forming there again. The city has caused this mess and has done nothing. I mean, you have a mayor, Fernando, who he said, I wake up every day not wanting to be mayor.
Right.
So, I mean...
Why did he take the job,
Right,
because
or get out.
He's done so many things to give us the impression that he didn't like the job.
Oh, absolutely.
Didn't want it. I know some people in city council who shall remain nameless who say, I was looking for the guy, could not find him anywhere, but I know where he was exactly.
Can I say it? Can I say where he was?
He was hiding. Can
I say it? You ever want to find him, you can just go to the Race Street Cafe, and right there he'll be there, because that's where I see him all the time. And I hate to say it like that and call it out, but hey, you want to know where he's at? That's where he's at.
Well, his political contacts, that's what they know where to find him.
Absolutely. And that's cool if that's what he wants to do. But if you want to wake up every day and not want to be mayor, don't be mayor. Go in, you can resign. The people aren't going to be like, oh, please stay, Jimmy. I don't know anybody who's going to say that. And if they do, maybe they should go form a new city somewhere else, because this city has been run into the ground because of those officials.
That's right.
Anyway.
Not only in terms of the drug addiction, in terms of just the city, the way the downtown Center City was looking, and it's still areas, the pavement, the streets are broken in so many places. 19th Street, one of the main arteries into downtown, to go into Rittenhouse Square, that whole area is still broken. I mean, you drive, it's like a third world country driving on that street.
Absolutely. And that's funny because you're not talking about streets that are outside of the Center City District.
No.
These are streets inside of. And this is where they put all their money and invest all their time, because this is where all their tourism happens.
Exactly.
They put people in uniforms in every corner with brooms and dustpans and stuff like that. But yet they're not fixing the real solutions in the city.
I know. They criticize Rendell because he focused so much on making the city pretty, the center of the city, because he said, business community, tourism, that's what we need. And he did a great job with that. And this guy has done the complete opposite. He abandoned the center of the city, among other things. Well, not that he did better anywhere else, but Center City was...
I was going to say, I think he abandoned the whole city. I don't even think he understands that the greater Northeast is part of Philadelphia. Nobody really recognizes that, and he really never did, because there's issues there as well. I mean, he's come out to Kensington for photo ops, just like every other politician does, but they don't do anything to help the situation. At least Rendell wants to help. He knows that the people need help, and he still wants to help.
Yeah, that idea of Rendell's, the halfway house, what are they?
For a safe consumption site? Yeah, the safe house that they were going to. It's, a place that, people fought that as well, but then again, it was also because it wasn't presented correctly. I mean, people were assuming it was going to go to an area like Kensington.
Right.
So the focus was on that, and all of a sudden, surprise, we're in South Philly.
Want to put it in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where that NIMBY is.
That all of a sudden the NIMBYism comes in, not in my backyard, you're not. And I think that's where the communication breakdown is. There's a lack of communication. There's so many, and I'm going to say it starts with the top. It starts with the officials. There's been so many walls built in our city that's all people know.
Not paid by Mexico either.
No, not exactly. And that's funny you say that, because everybody, I thought that was appalling. I still think it's appalling. But people were big and disgusted about that, but they don't realize it's happening right here in our own city.
Right.
That the walls are being built. Let's just push it under the carpet and hopefully it doesn't surface again.
Right.
It
is. It's sweeping under the carpet, hoping somehow, if you don't see it, maybe it will go away.
And that's everything, because let's face it, this city has been overrun by not just the opioid epidemic or the war on drugs, of course, but also the violence, from gun violence. The assaults, sexual assaults are on an upswing, which is disgusting as well. There's a lot. And while we're on the politics part of it, because you get me started, is here we are now we were all excited, or I don't know, I can't say all, but people were excited with the new police commissioner coming in, going to do something great. I don't ever see that police commissioner anywhere.
And also, it never depends on one person.
Right.
So it's the whole government that has to work
together.
City council, the mayor, the police commissioner, anybody who's in charge of any agency, they all have to cooperate.
And let's look at city council. City council, they're dropping one by one.
And because they all want to be mayor.
Exactly. And the sad part is they all want to be mayor, but what did you do when you were in city council? And hey, that's great because your pockets are getting deeper and deeper, but what are you doing for the community?
Speaking of that, we have Maria Quinones running, and some people will say, she didn't do anything for the neighborhood. You're more familiar with the neighborhood where she is.
Yeah.
So
right before you said her name was in my head when I was talking. It's interesting because Maria Quinones Sanchez, she basically wants to do well, and she wants to do well by everybody.
I know she has a good heart.
But the whole thing is, if you don't do, and this is anybody, if you don't do good first, you can never do well. So there's that double-edged sword. It's a catch-22, and because she has a good heart, and because she wants to be there for the people that she serves, it's one side of her, but then she has to realize that there's a constituency, and there's other people that she has to satisfy. And that's any politician, that was, I think Alan Dom's great.
I was going to bring up his name.
Yeah.
So he has deep pockets, talking about deep pockets, and it would be difficult to beat him in terms of the media. He's going to spend all the money that he needs to spend.
Absolutely.
He came out of nowhere. People, a lot of people knew him as the real estate mogul that he is, but all of a sudden he's everywhere. He's been seen around every organization in the city that has anything to do with dealing with poverty, with drug, education. He's been seen everywhere. So if that is one way to present yourself to the community, he's done the job.
And when he does it, he's real, because people see him as that real estate mogul and developer or whatever, but they tend to forget that he's still a Bridesburg guy.
Yeah.
He's still there. That's where his heart is. That's where his home is. I don't see many McMansions in Bridesburg,
No.
So it's not like he's living the Rittenhouse life, which is great. Rittenhouse is great. If people live there, that's amazing. Good for them. I would love it too, but he's where he's at. He's still like a sincere sort of, down home sort of dude, and he cares about it. And with our nonprofit, he's always been a voice. He always listens, hears. So, he's a good guy. Squilla's a good guy, Helen Gim, she just stepped down.
Yeah, I know. I don't think she has a chance.
I don't think she has a chance.
She's popular in a very small segment of the community.
Very tiny.
Yeah.
She's a nice person.
Yeah.
But I guess so was...
So if we're handicapping this mayoral race, I would put Alan Dam first, and I don't know anybody else who can compete with him right now. I don't see any other names. I know some of the people that have supported the black community, because we have a large black vote in the city. But I think Alan Dunn, even in that respect, he's done a good job maintaining his contacts and all that. So
well, you know what, and that's because Alan is real. He recognizes people outside of their demographic. He recognizes people as people. He recognizes that it doesn't matter what color or where you're at. You're all going to have issues of some type or form. So how are we going to address this?
Yes,
I would tell you what, I'd like to see Nutter come back.
Britt, we're going to take a short break, and we'll come back. There's so many other topics here, but as I said, we don't have to prepare anything because you're here. So, señores oyentes de Usala Media, están escuchando la mesa redonda de Roundtable. Britt Carpenter nos acompaña en el día de hoy. Danny Ramos and Dylan De Rossetto are controlling this program.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made her college years happen. opening that education savings account when she was little, spearheading a campus tour, and another, and another, and another, and another. Bam! Deciphering financial aid. She was like, what? Now she's like, you aced planning for college. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
Señores oyentes de Usala Media, estamos aquí de nuevo con su programa La Mesa Redonda de Roundtable, en una conversación muy interesante con Britt Carpenter, hablando sobre los problemas de la ciudad, el gobierno, la adicción a las drogas, todo lo que ha confrontado esta ciudad durante el gobierno del alcalde Jim Kenney. And ya estamos pensando que será un reemplazo, cualquier reemplazo será mejor que lo que tenemos ahora. Any replacement of this guy would be good.
Yes.
Nobody can do a worse job. So he set the bar so low that I cannot figure out why he took the job to begin with.
And it's really sad as we were going into break before you cut me off, but that's okay. I understand. I really like what Nutter was building.
Yeah.
When he was in office, at least he was transparent.
St. Joe's prep guy.
There, once again, he was a prepper too, So, and there's something to be said for that because, even though St. Joe's Prep is a prep school, look where it's located.
Yeah.
Look at where, even back then when he would go to school, what people were facing and
that was a deliberate decision by the Jesuits to keep that school in the city. They could have gone out to the burbs like Episcopal, like Haverford, everybody.
But they kept it there. Why?
Because they wanted to send a message that they were dedicated to the education of the people in that area, in the city.
Yeah, and that's what I really like about them, because there's so many other preps out there that, the message is the same but so different. But they're real. The prep school is real. So there's a lot of people that I'm friends with that came from there, and they're real people, and they're doing good things for this city.
Yes.
You were there for how many years teaching?
34 years.
34 years. Jeez, how long have you been retired?
Since 2012.
2012. Wow, you retired when you were 75?
Yes.
Whoa.
Yeah.
How's that feel?
Huh?
What do you?
I wasn't 75. That'd be ridiculous. I think you should go back to school and take some math.
I was an English major.
Because that's what you were trying to do.
Total English major. Huh? Total English major.
Yeah. Well.
Total. Did you like it there as a teacher?
Yes, I loved it. I love teaching. In fact, I'm back teaching.
Where?
At community college in Camden.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you going to Camden or over here?
I'm going to Camden.
You are?
Community college.
And
I'm teaching Spanish 1 and ESL, English as a second language.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Do you like the ESL part of it?
I like, yeah. In fact, I would rather do more ESL and not do the Spanish, because I've done the Spanish for a long time.
That's what we have 35 years, Spanish. So this ESL, I used to run a school that was ESL up in the Northeast. And just such a great thing to see, like, the transformation of people.
Yeah.
What age groups? I mean, I know it's college, but what's your...
college. It's a mixed group.
Is it?
Yeah, I have a guy who's taking Spanish. He's not an ESL. He's about 65.
Okay.
He bought a house in Ecuador. He wants to learn Spanish. But I have in my ESL, I have a Russian woman who is like probably 75 to 80, and she's dedicated to learning English. So it's great to see how they sort of a sudden become.
Funny you say that, about ESL. When people hear ESL, they don't think of other languages sometimes outside of, the major, like Spanish,
right?
And they tend to forget, like the school that I ran up in the Northeast was a huge Russian population, and it was a lot of people, because that's where people were coming. That was the demographic of it. So you have a mix then of people.
I have a mixed
melting
people.
Pot.
It really is. I have 3 Vietnamese girls in the group. I have people from Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico. Most of them are, I have 18 altogether. So most of them are in that category. Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, 1 Mexican, and then the Russian lady, and 3 Vietnamese.
See, and you know, people say teachers have a hard job, and they do. Their job is difficult. I wouldn't want to do it ever again. I did it for so many years. No way would I do it again.
I love it.
You know, and it's great. I mean, I love the education part of it. But like, you know, you prepared for your Spanish. Now you're preparing not just for the ESL, but you're preparing for every individual in that ESL class.
That's true.
What a hard job, but you like it.
Yeah, I love it. I like teaching, and you know, I'm sorry I retired so young. Anyway, there's a couple of other things. One of them is more positive, which is the fact that we are doing so well in the competition, the World Cup in soccer. So we're going to celebrate that. I want to talk about that a little bit later. But going back to this topic that we were addressing about the need for leadership in the city. And this is really, it trickles down. If you have a good leader that inspires people, and that's in all senses. And that's why I was so upset about Dr. Oz running to be the senator for Pennsylvania. I just said in one of the programs, I said, I'll give you $100 if you spot Dr. Oz in Pennsylvania. He's missing in action right now. I don't know where he is. He might be in Turkey, wherever he belongs. But you will
not Pennsylvania.
You will see him here.
No.
And oddly enough, they were talking about that in one of the NBC shows, that Herschel Walker is in a similar situation. Apparently his residence is in Texas. He has a house in Texas. He benefits there for a tax deduction from property he owns, where he is a resident of Texas. So what is he doing running for Georgia? And that's because the pragmatic decision of the Republicans that it didn't matter who he was, it didn't matter that he was an imbecile, that he has no idea what he's doing. He's a great athlete.
Absolutely.
Or he was a great athlete, but he has no other qualification. No, he cannot even speak in public.
It's his name, is what it is. I think that's what we tend to. Number one, what qualification does Dr. Oz have? Also, and the sad part about it is, who the hell's going to run and still call themselves Dr. Oz? You know what I mean? Like, that just right there.
Because that was his brand name. So if Oprah ran, she doesn't need any other thing, just Oprah.
Yeah, but
running.
Oprah's a little bit cooler than Dr. Oz.
Oh, yes.
You know, you're cooler than Dr. Oz.
The only bad thing that she did was introduce Dr. Oz to the public.
Well, you know, that was how many years ago? You know, it takes many years sometimes for people to really, you know, show that they're a true a-hole, you know?
Yeah,
so
I know. Yeah, we know who he is.
Yeah, we do. And it's a shame because people like that who had the money like that could do really good for the people of the state, but they don't do it for that. He wasn't doing it for the people of Pennsylvania.
No. So what do you think of the actual Senator Fetterman? What hopes we have for that?
You know, I'm biased, of course, because Fetterman has been a huge advocate and supporter of the war on drugs, on this overdose crisis that we're facing in our country today, let alone in our state. I mean, he shares the same views and feelings that Shapiro does. He feels that, you know, we're not putting enough time and money and effort into it, and that we're focusing on things that we're not. And I'm once again biased because that's what one of my main goals and focuses are. I like Fetterman because he's real, because what you see is what you get. You know, he screwed up on the air. He screwed up during the debate. He screwed up whatever. People screw up when they talk. They get nervous. But he was out there with the people. He was out there. I don't care if he had his basketball shorts on and hoodie on. Guess what? That's what I'd be wearing too. He was out there. He was meeting them and talking to them. Oz came to Kensington. Bravo. You know what he did in Kensington?
Oh, I know. I saw.
He picked up a syringe that already had a cap on it and said, look what I found. I'm sorry, Dr. Oz. I walk the streets of Kensington almost daily. You show me a syringe that's capped down there. That was a photo op.
Yeah.
Okay? Who did you talk to? And then he used the commercial of people suffering with their substance use disorder and active addiction and used that as his gimmick
Yeah.
You used human lives at the expense of your campaign.
Exactly.
Fetterman used his campaign for the expense of human lives.
That's right.
So,
honesty versus phoniness.
yeah, absolutely.
Well, anyway, so I'm glad he lost. I'm glad he's gone. I hope never see him again.
Ditto.
This Dr. Az. I don't want to see him anywhere, not even on TV.
No. Is he still on TV?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't care.
He's probably, he might come back to sell his snake oil. So I don't know. But anyway, he's gone. Shapiro. Now what I see is the U.S. Senate in the hands of Democrats, and maybe Biden will be able to implement some of his agenda, because even though I know the House is controlled by the Republicans,
right?
Kevin McCarthy is going to have a tough time, because the fringes, the Marjorie Taylor Greene and those people, are not going to let him do whatever he wants to do.
You know, you talked about, you know, you hope Biden, and I do too, but I hope that the support comes in and the right guidance comes in. Because sometimes what I'm seeing now is I'm not seeing enough of support. You know what I mean? Enough of the support. I don't see enough of the right guidance. And right. I see him flailing a little bit too, and that scares me. Because we went into this last election with two candidates that nobody wanted, really.
Well, I don't know that nobody wanted. I mean, they were not the most ideal choices.
There were a lot lesser evils than the two of them, okay? And I get it, but like, now I got to see action. You know, now I want to see more. And I don't think they're allowing that voice to come through, or they're not empowering that voice more. Do you know what I mean by that?
Well, I don't know that he has the presence, the stage presence that a leader is required. The leader doesn't have to be a tall, handsome individual. But look at Pete Buttigieg. He has the potential to be one of the great leaders of this country.
What happened, though? What do you think happened that he just was like, throw the towel and I'm done?
I don't know, but he was given a sort of a meaningless job with transportation that he might turn into a good job, because he needs, you know, there's a lot of problems that he needs to solve in this country in terms of railways, which is now one of the things threatening to happen. The railway strike will be fatal for the economy right now.
Right.
And I think even the Republicans will join Biden saying, like, we can't have this.
Right.
So I'm hoping. But I mean, again, leadership is so important. Unfortunately, the rhetorical skills are not there for Biden, which is something people like Bill Clinton had, Ronald Reagan had to the hilt. And that's what's missing, to speak with more authority. He's too, not timid exactly, but sort of low voice. His rhetoric is not the same as Trump.
He's more passive.
Boisterous, you know.
He's passive.
So he's passive. And I don't know if that is to his benefit. In terms of the contrast with Trump, it was. But in the long run, we need somebody who has more of a punch.
I don't know where we're going to find this person.
I don't know. You see anybody?
No, I don't, honestly. I don't see anybody that I'd be like, wow me, that will like knock me out of my, socks. Like, no.
I would like to see more of the Gavin Newsom, the governor of California. He has great potential to be the next candidate, I think. And I just hope that he's given the opportunity to run, because I know Kamala Harris is not going to do it. She just doesn't have it. Again, talking about the power of the word, the right ideas, but presented in an eloquent way, a forceful way that has an impact, and people will follow you. She doesn't have that. But I think the governor of California has it.
That's interesting to hear. And it's interesting what you said about Harris, because everybody for many years has been like, we need a female president in office. But there hasn't been a push for that forever, well, Hillary, but, she was president already when Bill was in office, but, there hasn't been a push for it. And it's interesting because they utilize, and I really think that they're shortchanging some really great candidates out there because of this.
Absolutely. But unfortunately, Hillary failed, and that's one problem.
Oh, absolutely.
We'll talk about that
she did.
on the other side of this brief pause here in Usala Media. Están escuchando La Mesa Redonda. Regresamos en un momento en compañía de Britt Carpenter. Pagano's Market and Bar has been serving gourmet Italian foods in Center City for 3 generations. Call Matthew Pagano for all your catering needs, and during these difficult times, please mention Fernando Mendez and receive a nice discount along with free delivery. Pagano's also makes the finest gift boxes in the city for all your holiday needs. Visit paganosmarketandbar.com. Señores oyentes de Usala Media, estamos aquí de nuevo con su programa La Mesa Redonda de Roundtable, desde el corazón de la ciudad del amor fraternal and sisterly affection. Les habla Fernando Mendez en compañía de Britt Carpenter. Danny Ramos and Dylan Di Rosato dirigen este programa. Bueno, Britt, the last item that we mentioned was Hillary Clinton. Yeah. So she's it's very unfortunate. I believe she was the best prepared candidate ever to run for the presidency.
Because she's been there already.
Because of what she did.
Right.
Yeah. Even when, she was Clinton's wife in the White House, but she had an impact even during that time. And then as Secretary of State and as Senator. So she has a pedigree, a career. She can present a curriculum saying, this is what I have done, this is what I stand for, as opposed to the Republican platform, which is non-existent. Remember when they asked Mitch McConnell, they said, like, so what are you going to do when you gain power again? He says, I'll tell you when we get there.
When you gain power again.
Right. So, really, I have no idea. I just want you to give me the job, and then I'll decide what to do, which is, let me see. The Republicans, the plan right now in Congress is to prosecute Hunter Biden.
Oh, yeah. Let's make him the center of the focus of the campaign.
Right. And I'm not going to defend Hunter Biden here. He has many problems. It's unfortunate that he's Joe Biden's son, but his record should not be attached to this president. He has nothing to do with the idiotic decisions.
Nobody's holding Andy Reid accountable for Britt Reid.
There you are.
Andy Reid's still in his position, and he's still doing what he's doing, and the people are still cheering him on. But his son,
I agree.
His son messed up back in 2007 when in Conshohocken, and then it just trickled.
Right.
So,
but more to the point.
Yeah.
Nobody is holding Judge Thomas responsible for Ginny Thomas's going with the guys who wanted to stop the certification of 2020, the election. So nobody's attacking him for that, or I haven't heard that there are consequences that he must suffer for that. They don't want to hear about that.
No.
Or also Mitch McConnell and his wife. So there you are. So
the name just sends bad vibes through me.
Or how about people who've done terrible things, like Ted Cruz abandoning his state in the midst of a crisis? He decides to go on vacation to Cancun, wherever he went with his family. In the midst of it, and then he comes back and I am Ted Cruz, and
I don't care what happened in these cities.
I know.
How many people died? I was getting a tan.
Now, the Republicans missed an opportunity to stop Trump, to destroy any possibility of his running for office again. When he went to Mar-a-Lago after he lost, with a big L on his forehead, and who rescued him? Kevin McCarthy went over there and said, never mind, let's take a picture together. You are restored.
Well, speaking of Trump and Mar-a-Lago, I'm going to change this real quick. What's up with him and his recent guests at his dinner? Come on.
Kanye West.
Come on. And what was and the white supremacists, and they're both deeply troubled individuals. Oh, okay, and you're not, sir.
Right.
But what is that? How are you winning any points out there? What are you doing? I think sometimes a lot of this is just an act. Yeah. Whether it's in the presidency and politics, ranging from what's happening here with Trump, or whether we take it over to when we talked about briefly before we started with Musk and his whole Twitter escapades. I mean, people are they doing this just for sensationalism nowadays? Because it seems to be more of a reality trash show going on out there.
Well, I believe that Trump does anything to remain in the headlines, even if it's negative. I don't think he cares. As long as they spell his name correctly, which is not difficult. Even though it's not spelled correctly because it's Trump. That's the original name.
Trump?
Yeah. It's a German name.
Trump. But it just got rid of the H.
They got rid of the H.
Trump.
I know Danny Ramos told me that I was not allowed to talk about Trump, so let's forget about it.
He did, but we are. So.
Yes, we are. He doesn't tell me what to say. He just can turn the mic off, which is another story.
He can tell you it's time to go to break before it is.
Anyway, let's switch for a moment to something. We had, because I talked about this a little bit in another show, we had a great sort of week, 10 days, where all the sports teams were doing well. The Phillies were doing well. The Eagles were undefeated. Basketball was winning. Every place we were doing great. The soccer team, Philadelphia soccer team went to the finals. Yeah. We lost against the Los Angeles team because they had an ace in Bell, Gareth Bell, who came from England and had just arrived and scored the winning goal for them. But anyway, that's soccer. That's sports.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what happened for it. And so things like that happen in politics, in sports. What I see, and this is what I would not stop talking about Trump. He's lost so many things. He destroyed the party. There was somebody saying, I've heard one of the Republicans, maybe one of his allies even, not Lindsey Graham, because he keeps saying, I hate Trump, I love Trump. You never know where he stands. And people say that maybe Trump has some pictures of him in a compromising position.
I think he might have a lot of pictures of a lot of people, because I don't understand the support he gets from some people.
Exactly. So why are they so willing to sell their souls to this guy now? Even now, at this very moment, they have the possibility of getting rid of that ghost forever. And they won't do it. If they unified Mitch McConnell, Kevin McCarthy, Lindsey Graham, Ted Cruz, all these people who have a media presence, and they say, we had enough, it's done now, they would accomplish it. But they go back and forth. And then Ted Cruz, Trump insulted his wife, his father, really?
But I also think that it goes back to the old, a typical politician. What do I get out of it in the very end? I can love to hate you, and I can bash you, but we could sit down at the very end of the day because I'm going to benefit from something you're going to do for me, and vice versa. And that's what politics is in general.
And it has been that way, but
yes.
it was never a bitter, insulting, demeaning exchange.
Because we never had a bitter, insulting, demeaning businessman in office before. We've had actors.
I know.
We've had senators. We've had, people that had been for the people. We never had a person who was a business person. We never had somebody who was this
egomaniac?
Yes. Yes.
unethical.
You take that away. I mean, most politicians are egomaniacs for sure, but at least that egomaniac goes towards the people.
Right.
You know, when you bring somebody in who's already in love with themselves and you just give them more power, it's going to give them more power to love themselves.
Yeah.
So that's what happened. And that's what I saw. And that's what I see a lot of times. I see that right here in Philly. You know, we go back to the whole people like, you know, Mayor Kenny because he was a nice guy. Well, look where nice got us. So anyway.
Yeah, Trump would not have been president except for the electoral count,
Right.
which went in his favor. But he lost the actual general vote by 3 million votes or something like that.
Yep.
So he's never actually won the people.
People forget that.
Right.
There's that popular vote, you know?
One election after another. There's like 4 that have been affected by him.
Right.
And all the candidates that lost their positions in this last election because of him. He got a few elected because, I don't know, because he used that power that still has with a certain part of the electorate. But that is a number that is diminishing right now. And one good reason, and another reason is going to actually continue to go down. Look what's happened with the Oath Keepers in Washington, the leader of the Oath Keepers.
Yes.
And his number 2 man, they're both going to possibly get, if they get the maximum jail sentence, 20 years.
They will. It's not looking good.
It's not looking
Not
good.
looking good at all.
So now, if you are a person who follows these guys, who follow them to Washington,
Right.
who listen to them, what are you going to do now? Because you following somebody who's been indicted and found guilty and imprisoned, and he's still your hero. I mean, how do you explain that? Where do you go from there if the people you follow are this kind of individuals, which is, you know, and the next one, the next group, the Proud Boys are the next group to go that way too.
Okay, and right there, you said it. It's because they're getting sensationalized by the media, sensationalized by the people, because the more of a ruckus you make, the more notice you get to yourself, no matter how negative it may be. And people start to buy into this BS?
You think, and this is a heavy topic, you know, what the January 6th report, what are they going to do? Because they're going to give this report to Department of Justice. Merrick Garland will be saying, okay, thank you guys. What do I do now? There's only one way I can go with this.
Well, yeah, what am I?
Right?
Waste.
So they appointed this guy, Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith goes to Washington, and
how ironic.
And he apparently has impeccable credentials, and he's determined to follow the law. Let's see what happens, because that's once the committee issues the report and the DOJ gets it, they have to do something.
Absolutely.
They cannot just put it aside and say, forget about that, which is what Bill, what was the other Attorney General, Bill, I forgot his name now, Bill Barr. What he did with the report that he got, and he reduced it to 4 pages, saying there's no collusion, there's no corruption.
He cliff noted it
like
as he did.
The complete opposite. There were 10 conclusions reached, you know, in that report that all said Trump was guilty of something. And, you know,
he went from cliff notes to bar notes, you know. So.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're going to take one last break here, and we'll come back in a minute. No se vayan, están escuchando La Mesa Redonda. Les habla Fernando Mendez en compañía de Britt Carpenter. Regresamos en un momento.
I think I finally found.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Mason.
Hey, Mason.
Got a new house. It's looking pretty cool so far.
Finally found a place that I call home.
I'm teaching Luis how to cook some lasagna.
It only takes a spark to make a fire start.
Thank you.
Study, please.
I think I finally found a place to make my own, a place that I call home, this place that I call home.
Señores oyentes de la mesa redonda de Roundtable aquí en Usala Media, les habla Fernando Mendez en compañía de Britt Carpenter. Dani Ramos y Dylan Di Rosato dirigen este programa. Bueno, este es el último segmento, Britt. This is the last part of this.
Wow, this went fast.
So now I would like to introduce more pleasant topics. a little bit about the World Cup and Christian Pulisic, who scored the winning goal against Iran. But he ended up in the hospital.
Right.
But he already posted that he's coming back to for the next game against Netherlands.
Yeah, actually, that was something that was just on like ESPN this morning. He was talking. Yeah.
He says he's okay. So, but you know, it was a hard hit that put him in the hospital. The other part of that game against Iran was prior to the game, when there was a press conference and they questioned the captain.
Right.
And he said the question was, how can you play for a country that is full of racists? And his answer was, better than I've ever heard any diplomat, any president, anybody say. He says, yes. I have to paraphrase because I don't know the exact wording. Maybe Danny will find a segment with the captain of the U.S. soccer team and what he said in the press conference about racism. He says, yes, there is racism in my country, but we are changing. We know it exists, but we're doing something about it. You know, and so it's a positive response. So that,
right.
Oh yeah, we're racist, and I agree with you. He was a very eloquent response to that sort of question that could have been problematic for other people.
So he spoke well about it.
He spoke very well about it. You know, he's a black kid, but he said, you know, I recognize that it's there, but we are changing. We're doing something about it.
Do you believe that?
I believe so.
You believe so?
We have gone. I mean, I know that it still exists.
Right.
And I know that the former president sort of gave a platform to racists in this country. Mm-hmm. But I think outside of that, if we can put that noise down, mm-hmm. I think the country has made great progress in terms of opportunity. Mm-hmm. I mean, wherever I go, I see like public servants, people on television, people in advertising, in business, of all races, not just blacks. You know, you see Hispanics, you see Asians, you see black people.
Absolutely.
And so I think the country has moved on.
I hope.
No,
because we were stagnant in that for so long. We were like stuck in that negative cycle for so long.
We took steps forward, two forward and one back. Look how long it took until 1968 with Martin Luther King for civil rights.
Right.
To happen. Mm-hmm. But I think the country has moved on. I think there's great opportunity, and it's more difficult for racists to go around voicing these opinions without consequences. Look what's happening with Kanye West and the other guy. So there are consequences.
Right.
People are thrown out of radio and television for speaking, racist.
As they should be. As they should be.
Because we're not there anymore. This country is very much aware of the fact that women have had a bad deal, blacks had a bad deal, mm-hmm. and minorities in general had a bad deal. And we're very much aware, and that's what that kid said in that radio, in that press conference. Right. He said that, yes, It is, but we have moved on. We're trying to change. We have improved. Whatever he said. I hope they can find the segment, because it was a very eloquent answer to a difficult question, especially from Iran, where the fashion police captured this woman and she died in their custody.
Right. Yeah.
And now we have women and men marching in the streets in protest.
Oh yeah, and that to see that, the videos, and see what I'm watching sometimes on there, that's crazy. It's become very fanatical.
Yes.
It's not even a peaceful sort of thing at this point. It can't be. So yeah. No.
So we have a few places where there is that ferment of there has to be a change. Yes. And so China has a problem right now, sort of a different sort. And the Chinese, I know for sure they're not going to put up with all the marches and demonstrations around the country. They have the power to put them down, and they will do it. But it's good to see that the people are still able to come out to the streets and say, we don't like what you're doing. We're asking for Xi Jinping to resign from his position. Though you never expected that to happen in China, but it's happening.
Yeah.
So, and then the irony is in Belgium, the demonstrations were because the soccer team didn't do well. That's like what? It's like when they say, I don't think it was connected, the Colombian player that was shot because the country lost in the World Cup. But anyway, those things happen, I suppose. So we're about to enter the Christmas season. I already see, Christmas trees every place, and hear the music.
It's been up since Halloween.
Huh?
It's been going on since Halloween.
Since Halloween.
Halloween, yeah. October 31st, the trees were up,
Yeah, I know. What are your plans for Christmas?
Christmas?
Yeah.
I not much. I mean, I'll work.
You celebrate Christmas?
I do. Yeah, I do. I'm not a Scrooge.
Put up a tree?
I don't. No, I don't. Because I've got dogs and I got 4 cats and
Okay.
That's
but you
just a
do
mess.
charitable.
Yes, I do a lot of work on the streets. I put trees up in the recovery homes that we run. We just put trees up there. We put them up in the garden. We do decorate. I'm not a total Scrooge. I go out on the streets
You
and
distribute food?
We distribute compassion bags filled with supplies and resources. We go out, we give out sleeping bags, tents. We're doing a huge coat drive in conjunction with a place called Courage Medicine on December the 17th. It's a Wednesday at Philadelphia Brewing Company from 11 to 7, so people can bring their coats there, sleeping bags. We're going to hand those out. But you know me,
It's December 17th.
Yeah, I just sort of get out there and do stuff.
Yeah, and I know there is something you do specifically for women, who are in recovery, like a soup kitchen.
Well, are you
still doing that?
Well, we worked in conjunction with Prevention Point Philadelphia,
right.
Which they do what was called a ladies' night. They also do a men's night now. So in different groups will go in and host it. Whereas Ellen, your wife, would come in, and she was a huge part of that. She would organize that way before COVID. So we're not involved with that as much as we would like to be, because other organizations are, but we're still out in the streets all the time. We're still doing what we're doing. We run the community garden, 13,000 square feet of love and healing. It's amazing.
Well, I believe that the statement that I read not long ago about if all these big shots, billionaires, individuals, and companies, the international companies, if they paid taxes as they should, instead of hiding them, overseas, if they pay their taxes, there wouldn't be any need for charity in this country. We would be able to afford to support every program, education, drug addiction, homelessness. It is amazing that we still have homeless people in this country. How is it?
I don't know, especially in a city like Philadelphia where there's all these empty schools and buildings and warehouses that could be converted, and the funds. I mean, Josh Shapiro has, granted Philadelphia millions of dollars in funding that the city has done nothing with. Yes, the Office of Homeless Services, which would be Liz Hirsch and her team, has done nothing with the money that's been given to them. Where are these millions of dollars going? And it's not just people who are experiencing homelessness, it's the people who are living in squalor, who are living with no heat, no electricity, behind closed doors because the city isn't caring. So their priorities are messed up.
Yeah.
Really messed up. And, this is a battle we're going to be fighting forever. There's going to be no answer to this anytime soon. This has been going on for many, many years. It got worse after the wartime, and it's getting worse with the substance use disorders going on out there, mental health, and also with COVID and the way the economy is going. People can't afford anything anymore, so it's getting worse, and we're not seeing anybody stepping up. So that's my part of that.
Yeah, well, bon courage, my friend. I don't think that there's no perfect solution. There's no permanent solution. No. But there are steps that can be taken along the way to alleviate the suffering, the poverty of people. And certainly, like in your case, helping people who are in drug addiction, that can, in many ways, you're doing part of the job that should be done by the government. So kudos to you, my friend.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. And it's frustrating, but it's rewarding. You get angry because it does start at the top, and you wish there could be change, and you try to be a voice for that change, and you join other voices, and then that gets heard for a little bit, and then gets put by the wayside like something else because another issue arises. So I think if we can just continue to focus on these societal issues that are tearing our societies apart and start to bridge the gaps that are needed, we'd be so much better off.
Well, Britt, this has been an interesting conversation, to say the least. Always. Hope we can continue and do number 2 conversation very soon.
As long as we don't talk about Trump.
We probably follow Danny's instructions not to talk about Trump. Anyway, thank you for coming to...
Thanks for having me.
Señores oyentes de Usala Media, hemos llegado al final de esta edición de la Mesa Redonda de Roundtable. En compañía de Britt Carpenter, Danny Ramos y Dylan de Rosato dirigieron este programa. Un servidor, Fernando Mendez, se despide de ustedes. Hasta la próxima. Greetings from the city of brotherly love. I am Fernando Mendez, host of the Roundtable. We invite you to listen to our discussion of the themes of the day when we bring you regional, national, and international news.